Eric Le Reste had been with the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, Radio Canada. He worked for the main television, news, and current affair programs within the French services. Along his professional career, Eric always maintained a special interest in spirituality, which he continues to cultivate. For more than 40 years, he has taught the meditation, philosophy offered by the Brahma Kumaris, an international organization for which he currently acts as the Canadian National Coordinator. Personally, in these days, I have seen him with a humorous and very kind and humble. Today, he'll be sharing powerful message on Say Yes to Life. This topic invites us to embrace opportunity and overcome challenges and live life with fullest. So most of our problem facing it is because generally we say yes to others, but no to us. So let us listen to Brother Eric, how we can say yes to us and yes to others. So please join us in welcoming Brother Eric with a round of applause with a bouquet. I request Sister Odia to present a bouquet.
Flowers again. Thank you. It's for you. It is all for you. You can all get one when you leave.
Over to Brother.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to come here. And I know sometimes we have a busy schedule, and Saturday evening usually is to do more like entertainment, relax, and enjoy with friends. So you are giving your evening to come and listen to a French Canadian coming from the other side of the world. So I'm very touched that you are taking the time to be here tonight. And it's also a great pleasure for me, of course. It's my first time in Dubai. So I'm a little bit like a child in a candy store. Since 2 days, my eyes are about like this. And every building I see, every place I see. We went to the beach this morning, I went swimming, and I was like a little boy, in this new playground. So I'm thoroughly enjoying my time at the moment. And you may wonder also a little bit, what's this topic all about? And I realized later on that it comes from actually a French expression, or something we say in French. And then I realized that when I translated a list of topics from French to English, some became a bit, I don't know if people will relate to this concept of saying yes to life. And I'll give you a little story where actually this topic came from. And as Sister mentioned, I was actually in television production for all my life, for almost 40 years. I worked as a journalist and a television producer for the public television. So I really enjoyed my career. It was an incredible opportunity, and I know media have a very bad reputation. I totally understand that. But I can guarantee to you that there are very good people in the media as well. And I hope to be one of them. But I think many people in the media really, really try to do something, from the heart, and they really want to convey the truth, the information. So I believe very, very strongly in some of the public media. In Canada, we're lucky. We're in America, it's very different. The media have been so polarized that I wouldn't go to work, for Fox News, or I wouldn't want to be in any of these news. But CBC, like the BBC, the New York Times, they still have very, very serious journalists, and they work for, really the well-being of the population. So I worked on a lot of documentaries, and I And I interviewed a lot of very fascinating people. And to me, that was the beauty of my job, to meet extraordinary people. And just because you are media, then you can talk to them and you have access to incredible people. And I interviewed one day, he's known in Canada as being really the founder of the New Age movement. He was really a philosopher, a communicator, totally unique, great personality. And he kept his show, I think it was for something like 50 years on the air. 50 years his program was on the air on the radio. And it was called By Four Ways. So it means like you can go in all directions, think of all, open your mind. It was a very, very popular show. And he was extremely charismatic man. And so one day I wanted to do a big interview with him, and I told him, this is going to be your legacy. We're going to do a big documentary on who you are. And he told me that story that was very funny. And he said that in his show, the morning show, he's promoting usually philosophical views, very positive, and he's a man, very strong with a big voice, and the way he laughs is very well known. Everybody knows him by his laughter. And so he was saying that one day he was on his show and he was taking this topic, say yes to life. So he was a little bit dramatic and he said, whatever happened in your life, you have to say yes. You go out, you go with friends, start to rain. I mean, here you wouldn't relate to that, but it starts to doesn't rain here, right? So something happens, I don't know, the car doesn't start or something. Just say yes, life. Whatever happens, just say yes. Just accept. So he went on saying yes, yes to life, yes to life. And then the lady called him, on the radio, and then on the radio show he also had some people calling. And the lady said, "Oh, Mr. Longuiron, his name, I was listening to your show, and I was so inspired, saying yes to life. And I was listening to you and I was having goosebumps, I was feeling, this is it. I should stop saying no, 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 no. I should say yes to life. I should say yes." She was very excited. And just when that happened, the door opened and her husband showed up. And again, a scene you would not relate to. He was covered with snow. I know it's hard to imagine here, but in Canada it happens. If you walk in a winter and you don't have, when there's a snowstorm, you can be really covered with snow. So the door opened, the husband shows up, and she sees him all covered in snow. She said, "What happened to you?" He says, "Oh, I got a car accident and the car is broken. So I just came walking." And she said, "Oh no." And then she realized, oh, I didn't say yes. I just said no. But just when she was thinking, you should say yes to life. And it is a true story. She called on the air and said, just when I was so excited to say yes, something happened. And the first thing I said was no. So when I heard that, I really thought it was a very interesting thought. And he said his point was not the story. His point was to explain what is spirituality. And he was saying that when you say yes to life, when things go wrong, he says that is spirituality. Spirituality is about taking a spirit beyond what is happening and see what is not visible, but go for something higher than just the mundane. And we can get so caught up into little things, isn't it? You buy a new watch, very nice, and then suddenly it stopped working. And what do you say? Oh no. Right? Something happened, and what do you say? Oh no, gee. So we'd say it differently. Oh gee, or oh, whatever, and you have your own expressions. But basically we don't accept. And it's normal, we don't like it. If you make a beautiful cake and then, bake like this, and you sing happy birthday to you, and then you trip, and the whole cake falls off, what do you say? You won't say, oh, wonderful, nice. Normally you wouldn't say that. You would say, oh, no, what did I do? It's normal, right? So what I liked was the idea that little things in life sometimes are like a little, we call it a grain of sand in the whole machinery. It's a tiny little thing, but it stops the whole thing. And we feel that sometimes being spiritual is the capacity to maintain your spirit, tune into something a little bit higher than just what is happening here. So the concept I worked with a lot, and I really enjoyed when we tried to understand what is really being spiritual. Because if I say yes to life, and we'll see, of course it's difficult sometimes. Sometimes really bad things happen. I know you are watching the news like everybody else. It's not saying yes to everything stupidly, of course, and naively. If there is a catastrophe and people die, you're not going to say yes in that way. So we'll find that there are other ways of responding. So saying yes to life is a little bit like advertising, but the real content is a little bit more refined. But to me, one of the things that we tend to forget is the simple fact that we don't understand what is a human being. It's such a simple thing. If someone were to ask you, like, imagine a big person with green antennas and green eyes shows up from Mars and says, "Oh, who are you?" And he said, "Well, I'm a human being. Who are you?" He's a Martian, from Mars. So you would define yourself, I'm a human being, versus an animal, or plant, or a mineral, right? So why did we create that word, human being? Such a simple description of who we are. Human being. It's like two dimensions in one. So there's the human, which is the body, the species, but there's a being in the human. And that's the one we forgot. So when we introduce ourselves and we say, I'm Canadian, I'm a man, I'm a journalist, I'm this, I'm this, I'm that, I'm so many years, so much kilograms and height and whatever, what are we describing? Just a human. But if we were to be asked, so okay, I know about your human part, what about your being part? Who is that being? And I'm sure some of you have taken the course in Raj Yoga, and the foundation of Raj Yoga, which I really liked when I came to the Raj Yoga Center in Montreal, was this very wonderful definition of the soul. And I'm sure you all heard about that we don't have a soul, but we are a soul, and we have a body. And it's so simple. But to me, when I heard that, I was 21 years old at the time. And I was thinking, why did we not learn this at school from the beginning? And when we're told, that the soul is actually the being is exactly what we call the soul. And that being has a mind, an intellect, personality traits, that this whole thing is very clearly defined. What is the mind? What is the intellect? What are the personality traits? And how they work on a cyclical level. Whatever you think, it becomes your emotion, it becomes your awareness, it becomes your attitude, then it becomes your actions. Your actions then create thoughts, and they go in a circle like this. So once I understood that, I thought, why don't we teach this at school? Because we teach kids how to speak, how to write, how to play football, how to draw, how to calculate. Why don't we teach our kids how to think? Would it not be useful to say, okay, this is a lesson about thinking? And we're told, the proper way of speaking. Isn't it? When, kids get something, you say, what do you say? Thank you. Please say thank you. What do you say? We try to teach them the right way of saying things. But if we were to teach them how to think, that would be so much more interesting. And when I came to the Raj Yoga group, what I enjoyed was meeting these elderly women who were told when they were very, very young, some of them were 16, 10 years old or 20 years old, something like that. And they were told from a very young age this secret about learning how to think, learning how to select your thoughts, learning how to control your mind. How many of you talk to your mind every day? How many of you tell your mind sometimes, oh mind, please, please, be calm, help me, right? It just goes like this, right? High speed. Our minds are going really, really high speed. Have you ever tried to think slowly for 5 minutes? The other day I had, to be honest with you, I had to manage certain things, and it was a little bit intense. So I have to admit, I was in my bed and I caught my mind spinning and I couldn't fall asleep. So I thought, oh, what are you doing? And I just really told my mind, as if I was with a little child that were crying, that was unhappy. And I told my mind, let's be quiet. And once I saw, I was playing with, I visited a family, and there was one of our senior, Rajogi senior. And we were in a family, and there are 2 young boys, and I was actually making them way more excited than I should. So that's my bad thing with kids. I tend to make them more excited than anything else, because I get excited and we play ping pong and pillow fight and everything. Then when time came to have dinner, they were crazy. They were spinning around, and the parents said, what did you do to our kids now? They're so excited. And this yogi teacher was on the couch, and she called one child and said, come. And he went close to her. And I didn't understand how she did that. But she started talking to the child. And she made him so quiet that he became like immobile, he stopped moving and became very quiet, very quiet. And she called the other one and said, come and sit. And I said, how did you do that? Is it hypnosis, or is it, how do you control their mind? Or she said, no, just make them peaceful. And they became very quiet, and we had a very quiet dinner. And I thought, oh, Eric, you better learn that trick, because I'm doing the opposite. So the other night when my mind was spinning, I tried the same thing. I was just telling my mind, just think slowly. And I started to put my mind like, now, if I decide to speak very slowly, I can speak very slowly. But you'll all fall asleep, so I won't do that. If I talk too slowly, you're going to, oh yeah, he's very cool. But we sleep. So, but when the mind slows down, and you start to enjoy one thought after the other, very quietly, and then suddenly you feel that every thought is your thought. You're not listening to your mind thinking. You're making your mind think. It's very different. And when that happens, usually, I found it within a second, I felt very quiet. And so then, okay, it's back into control. And I created beautiful thoughts, and everything is okay. Everything is fine. So saying yes to life, for me, is just a little trigger to question my own spiritual attitude in front of whatever happens. So if something good happens, it's great. But if something bad happens, then it shouldn't be, it's bad. But it should be, okay, it happened. Now what do I do about it? How do I respond about it? And we have multiple examples that are easy to help us for understanding that. If a doctor is a good doctor, right? I mean, for me, if I see a drop of blood, I faint, and I would never be a doctor. I can't see wounds and broken legs and stuff like that. But I admire doctors who sometimes see people coming in front of them in a terrible state, after a car accident or after a bomb or something. What is the doctor going to do? Okay, imagine if the doctor first faint. Well, that doesn't start very well, because I don't know how he's going to operate. And if the doctor starts saying, who did this? Why is this one like this? It shouldn't be bleeding. Who shot him? Or why did he have a car accident? What kind of doctor would it be? It would be useless. And this is exactly how we are when something bad happens. When something bad happens, we start, why is it happening? It shouldn't be that way. Who said that? And then we start going on. We're exactly like that doctor who is not doing what needs to be done. And for the doctor, he's not going to question, is it the victim or the criminal one? His duty is just to heal, is just to repair, to fix it. And I find for me to be spiritual means let my being create such a consciousness that whatever happens, I can deal with it. And sometimes it's nice, it's easy to deal with it, great. But sometimes when there is a problem, that's the time that the being should take over the human. And the being should start to reveal what is my duty as a being. So for the being, if the being is sleeping in the human, that's called being mundane, ordinary. You're just being human. And people will say, well, I'm just human. And you say, yeah. And next you can be animal if you continue, because your behavior will be very similar to animal if you are just human. And people even argue sometimes, but we are like animals. This is normal. And of course, something spiritual, someone spiritual, a yogi would say, no, it's not normal. You forgot how the being can really act in a beautiful way, even when things are going terribly wrong. So if the being is sleeping in the human, we're just human. And that's when we bring these arguments, oh, I got angry, but it's normal, I'm human. Everybody is human, everybody is imperfect. So okay, be angry. And that's going to repeat again and again and again. And who is going to suffer? I'm going to suffer. I'm going to make others suffer. But if the being awakens, creates an awareness of who am I as a being, well, then that being can start to really change the behavior of the human. For example, I know it's based on the awareness, but when I was working, you have the awareness, for example, that if you're a journalist, it could be arrogance sometimes, because you can go somewhere and say, well, I'm a journalist, I'm better than somebody else. And you have your little card and beep, beep, you pass everywhere, they give you front seat, and it can create arrogance, isn't it? And it does, actually, for some. And then if you become senior journalist, that's one step higher. And then when you become, exceptional journalist, award winner journalist, well, it's just your head keeps growing like this, and then you can have a big ego about it. That's a wrong awareness. It's still awareness of who I am, but developed with ego. But if the mentality or the spirit, I'm a journalist, therefore I have a responsibility. And for me, that's what I really enjoyed in my career, is to see, if I'm a baker, I make bread for people. If I misuse my understanding, I make bread for money. That becomes a twist. That's when you stop enjoying baking bread. The real concept was the one who makes bread for everybody in the morning is like, I'm doing it for people. And the other one will do something else for people, and everybody does something for the community. But we lost that, and we all make things for money. And the journalist can do things for his own ego, or he can be motivated, like the doctor, to promote righteousness, to promote the truth, to promote what is right and what is wrong, to help society to make the right choices. And when that is in my awareness, the way I do my work is going to be very different. Because it's not about me, it's about the well-being of the society. And so the awareness of the being can really change so many things. You can say, okay, I'm a mother. Fine, so this is my children. Okay, but I would argue this is a human perspective. If you take a spiritual perspective, are you really just a mother? Are they really your children? In a way they are, on the human side, but on the being side, they are beings too. It happens that in this moment, you look after them, they came into your family, But there could be another vision of it. You know, many religions have beautiful display of understanding human society as one big family. All the religions will tell us you're all brothers and sisters. I'm still not used to be called brother because in Canada we don't call each other very easily brother and sister. So when they introduce me as Brother Eric, I always think, if they hear that at work, if all my work colleagues, sometimes they catch something on the internet and they say, oh, Eric, are you Brother Eric? And for them, in Montreal, Brother Eric means you're really a priest. There's no other way. If you're Brother Eric, it means you're a priest, a Catholic priest. And I say, no, it's the way we say, you know, generally. So some culture use the word brother very easily, but some don't at all. So for me, when I'm introduced, like Brother Eric always says, brother, okay. I have to accept, yes, that's my identity. So, but it's a spiritual identity. How often do you feel others to be really your brother and sisters? We lose that. We lose it. I'll tell you a very touching story for me when you say yes to life. And I used to work in one city in Canada, and one day, it was still for public television. So it was a big building, there's hundreds of people, journalists and media people. And one day there was a new receptionist, woman who was at the reception, and she was extremely sweet and very nice woman, and happened to be extremely beautiful as well. And when I saw her, the first day she was, you know, like a sunshine welcoming you every day. Oh, hello, and whoa, hello, who are you? So very, very nice, and immediately, I don't know why, but I thought, oh, she looks like my sister, like my physical sister. And I'm a yogi, so my approach is always to be, you know, very kind, but also very aware of what's going on. And I saw her and I say hello, and then we get to know each other after a few weeks, few months. Every day she was so nice. And every day I was always nice to her as well. And she seemed to be always in a good mood and always, you know, but I knew she was very attractive. And for me, my only way to control my mind, if you know what I mean, was to say, no, she's my sister, you know, and I really felt she was like my sister. And I knew that with that feeling, then the vision is okay, the attitude is okay, what I say is okay, and my behavior is correct. That's a practice we do in Raj Yoga. And I felt really good feeling for her, you know, really like caring as really my sister. And one day I came to work and she was obviously in a bad day and very unusual. So I said hello, and I could say, oh, this is the first time in probably a year that I see her really not shining. So hello, and I was rushing. I remember I went to work, and then at lunchtime I was concerned, so I went back to the reception. And I said, are you okay? This morning you seem to be not okay. And then she told me, and she really, I know it's a sad story, but you're all adults, you can understand. That was before what they call in Western world, I don't know here, but it's called the Me Too period. And again, she was a very, very beautiful woman. And she said, Eric, you have no idea. You have no idea. Since I started working here, but it was like that in many other work, the way men talk to me sometimes, it's very difficult, you know. And she said, today there was someone from a very high position who said something very inappropriate and had a gesture very inappropriate. When she told me that, my heart like broke. It will be my real sister. I would have the same feeling. And I said, well, how? How is it possible? We're in an educated place. I mean, these are all professionals, and how can some of my colleagues talk to you in a wrong way? I was very, very shocked, to be honest with you. And then she started to say, Eric, she says, I have to tell you, you know, from all the men in the building here, you're the only one that has always shown me respect all the time. You're the only one from all the men here. And she was almost crying, you know, and she said, I'll tell you something. And she was really, I swear this is what she said. And she said, it may sound very strange to you, Eric, but to me, I always feel like you're my brother. And when she told me that, I almost smiled, because I thought, well, let me tell you something you might find very, very strange, but I've always seen you as my sister. And when we exchanged that way, for me, that day I felt thank you, Raj Yoga, thank you for giving me that thinking. So I can at least be one out of many, and I'm sure many other men were okay as well, but she felt that my relationship with her was very, very special. And it's true that I really, really treated her like my physical sister. But when she said, "You're my brother," and I said, "Yes, you're my sister," we laughed, and we said, "That's just so sweet." But I told her, well, that's, we're talking about saying yes to life. But on that thing, we said the way to say yes was not to say, let it be continued. But it was, yes, let's say yes to life means let's do something. So, we went to a special human resource department, and I said, you cannot go alone, so I'll help you. And we have to denounce the situation, and it should not be acceptable. But to me, I'm just saying that very strong situation, because it was spirituality that was the driving force. It could have been anger, it could have been violent reaction, it could have been negative reaction, but there's no need for it. The need was for the awareness to say, what is the right perspective here? And the fact that she opened up to me was a proof for me that if I was not spiritual, she would have never talked to me. So who would she have talked to? So the awareness of the being is not something very, hairy-fairy, something a little bit blurry somewhere. It's very, very specific. The being has very beautiful values. The being that we are in the human body, which defines us as a human being, is not just an ordinary being. The being that we call the soul is actually an energy that I would call actually life. For me, what the soul is a sparkle of life in the body that makes the body move. When we say he left or she left the body, it's always a strange expression, right? Say, oh, who left the body? Who was the he? And then you realize that we're talking about two entities, one who left the body. So the awareness of the being brings me to the awareness of what are the qualities of the being. What is the state of the being? What kind of being am I? So if you say, I'm a being of life, and I, the being, come from a spark of life, which is made of peace, made of love, made of happiness, this is my nature. This is really what the being is all about. Imagine this like the little baby. It's a little bit, sometimes, it's not a perfect example because babies are babies too, but sometimes we like to think that the baby is that innocent being that comes with, no bad intention. The baby doesn't know if you're black or white or yellow or green or tall or small or fat or not. Baby doesn't see any of that, isn't it? Baby doesn't know your religion, doesn't know your gender, doesn't know nothing. But he looks at everyone as another being. And that's why they stare at you in the eyes, and they are told, don't stare in the eyes, this is not good. What's wrong with staring in the eyes? It depends. But for a baby, there's nothing wrong in staring in each other's eyes. We practice a meditation where we tend to look in the eyes of each other to see the soul. Because if I look at you as a soul, I'm probably be the only one in 1 week looking at you as a soul. Everyone else in the streets will look at you as, oh, hello, mister. Hello, ma'am. Nobody sees you, oh, hello, soul. Oh, you are a beautiful soul. Oh, let me see again. Wow. Have you ever had someone telling you that? You say, did you drink something today? Or are you okay? What's wrong with you? If somebody says, oh, I see your soul. Wow, this is a beautiful soul. You say, you okay? Why not? I think the baby is saying something. And when check the babies, it's a scientific study, it's very interesting, how babies respond to goodness or to viciousness, I would say, or something mean. They don't need a PhD on psychology, they know quickly. The baby catches it right away. He catches everything. Kindness, mean intention, fear, peace, stress, they catch all that. They're natural being. And their being, as a being, respond best to love, peace, happiness, kindness, generosity. Babies respond to that. Where did we lose it? By becoming human conscious, by forgetting about our spark of life and just behaving as a man, as a woman, as a teenager, as a Canadian, as a, this or the other, all these labels. Sometimes I laugh at myself and I think we're all walking with plenty of Post-it on us. No, the Post-it, those little yellow sticker that you put. So I'm producer, that's a Post-it. I'm 60, that's another Post-it. Oh, I play tennis, or tennis is a Post-it. And you have all your Post-it. And say, who are you? Well, all these Post-it. I don't know. They're just, superficial identities. And if we had the courage to remove all these Post-its and say, what's left? They said the being, that sparkle of life. And so when we say, okay, say yes to life, what it means to me is stop fighting with everything that confronts your own identity as being life. I am life. It's not my bowl of cereal that I ate this morning, which is now speaking to you. Because sometimes people say, where did this intelligence comes from? I say, well, it doesn't come from the food. Food feeds the body. So it's not my brain thinking. It's the soul thinking. And the brain is the computer. And it articulates the mouth and the tongue. But the soul is thinking. The soul is feeling. The soul is experiencing. And so, for me, that life, the soul, comes into interaction with other things. And if we were to experience everything around me to be a game with life, that's what I would say is saying yes to life. Things happen. Okay, it happened. Now what do I do about it? Do I get angry? Do I shout? Do I become violent? Do I become sad? Do I start crying? Do I feel guilt? Do I feel fear? I have choices. And if I'm human, I would react in a very human way, very, very quickly. And that would be fear, anger, anxiety, negativity. That's normal. That's a human reacting. But if I'm aware of life in me, that I am goodness, I am everyone's brother. Everyone is my brother and my sister. Life is okay. Life is natural. If something bad happened, well, it doesn't happen just like that. There was a cause and a cause and a cause. There's a law. Everything is in order. So if the ceiling breaks down and falls, I will hope it's not going to happen, but if it does, there's a reason. So you can be angry about it, or you can just say, well, there was a reason. Now it happened, now what do we do? So life is in me. I am life. And then I start to see life around me. That life is actually exactly the way it's supposed to be. Because that's what we call sometimes on a spiritual perspective. There's like a theater, it's like a big drama. And I say, look at life like a big story. How are you going to feel the day you have to leave the body? Right? Who tells you you're not going to leave the body and start to think, oh, that was like a dream? Who knows? Not too many people come back, right, in the corpse saying, oh, by the way, I just got it. They don't come back, unfortunately, to tell us what happened. But many feel that, life can be taken so seriously. Everything becomes a drama. Everything becomes a big deal. You were waiting for someone last night and he didn't show up. You get so upset, so annoyed. You break your plate because you're mad. I'm never going to talk to this person again. Okay, this is a good movie. This is what they do in Netflix and all these series. And we say, oh, that was good, huh? And we watch those dramas and you pay a lot of money. And then you say, that is a good film. That is a good drama. I want to see more. Anyone watch a series? They're addictive, right? You start first episode, second, and then you look, oh my goodness, it's 20 episodes. And before you know, you're lacking sleep. And they say, are you okay? You say, yeah, just watching an episode of Netflix and it's never ending. We like it. This is drama. But when it happens to me, oh no, that's not okay. Yes to life means whatever happens, okay, it's happening. Now let me play a role where the being plays the role, not the human. The human is there. I will play my role through the human. But let the being be the director. Let the being decide what is the wisest way to respond to this situation. There's always choices. There are always choices. I can react or I can interact, which is very, very different. They say be an actor, not a reactor. It's much better. A reactor will explode. Actor will play the game. So be an actor, not a reactor. Say yes to life. Yes means, okay, let's deal with that. Okay, I lost my car. Very interesting. Okay, what do I do with it? For me, the trick is very often to use the sentence, oh, it's very interesting. Something happened, and instead of saying no, I say, oh, that's interesting. Try that. It changes your perspective. And they say, what's interesting? Well, I didn't plan that way at all, but it's interesting. And if something really bad happened, then you say, well, that's really interesting. Just one notch, higher. This is really, really interesting. And if something extremely terrible happened, you say, well, that's unusual. That's very, very interesting. What are we going to do with that? And if we really, for me, I believe, if we really understand that the real actor, and not the reactor, but the real actor is the soul, then I start to think, what are the capacities of the soul? If you think of yourself as a human, you would say, well, I was raised like this. So what can I do? I was always poor. This is the way my parents told me. Oh, this is how I am in a society. Oh, this is how I am in my marriage. Oh, this is how my kids are. I limit myself as a human because the human has those limitations. But if I say, no, I'm the being. Yeah, this is my reality. So what can I inject in that reality? And the being, the soul, has a capacity to love, which is very beautiful. I didn't know that. To me, when I was younger, you would have asked me, how many people do you really, really love? Well, I would have counted a few. I am okay with a few, but I love just a few. Today, if you ask me really how many people I love, I cannot count. I have people I love all over the world. I love, at some time when I was younger in Raj Yoga, I used to joke and said, I have a problem. I don't know how much my heart can handle that love. People would come and I would really feel friendly and I'd say, I love you, but I don't know if I still have room. My heart is going to explode. How many people can you love in one life before you explode? Before your heart says, are you going to stop loving people? This is getting really too much for your heart. And I find the heart to be unlimited. You can love really a lot of people. And I'm not saying love in a sense like, okay, let's get married and have children. Okay, that's a different story. But real love in a sense, no violence, no judgment, no reaction, total acceptance, fine. And really knowing every soul is unique. The story of the human, I might like it or not. I may like the personality or not, but the soul is very interesting. And my love is for the soul, not for the being, for the human, but for the being. So yes to life is really when the soul uses its capacities to interact as a human in a way that will solve everything, that would change everything. So we say an enlightened person will transform a mountain into a small little thing. But an ignorant person will make a small little thing into a mountain. That's a difference. And sometimes I hear people, and even not just on these TV series or film series, whatever, but at work and somewhere, a small thing, they would talk about it for an hour. You know? Oh, the lady made a mistake at the cashier, and instead of 245, she counted 265. Oh, how can she that be, and she 20 cents difference becomes a 1 hour conversation. And I said, are you really spending I'm exaggerating, but 1 hour of your brain to think about that little thing? And next time she goes to the market, say, last time you overcharged me for 20 cents. Come on, be cool. Say yes, it's fine. Next time, you go to the woman and you can tell her you made a little mistake, so I can have a candy today. Make it funny. Don't make it big. Make it small. But saying yes to life is about life is interacting with me. Why should I say no? If I say no, I'm rejecting. And if I'm rejecting, it comes back to me with, how do you call it? Administrative fees. If you don't pay your bill, it's okay. You don't pay your bill, no problem. 1 month later, you get your bill back with penalty. I was looking for the word penalty. You have a penalty for not paying your bill. You have to pay plus penalty. And if you don't pay next month, penalty double. That's what it means to say no to life. Life will say, fine, you don't accept, that's okay. I'll come back to you. It will be worse. And if you say no, I'll come back to you until you really get it. And sometimes people say, what did I do to the sky? In French we say, what did I do to the sky? So the sky fell on me. And I say, you did nothing to the sky. You just didn't pay your bill. So we say yes. If the bill comes, you say, okay, yes, I'll pay it. And if you don't have money, faith. I, the soul, I will find a way. Something will happen. If we say yes to life, life will say, oh, you're playing, okay. I can be with you. I can do that. If you're using your spiritual energy, that spiritual energy will create spiritual interactions. We call it sometimes synchronicity. The sign of us saying yes to life very easily is that there's synchronicity. You say yes, fine, you don't act, you don't react, you don't reject, you don't judge. You'll find there's synchronicity because it becomes, there's a current, there's an energy flowing, which is very natural. Life attracts life. Rejection of life attracts no life. That's the way it works. So saying yes to life is really about saying yes to me being the source of life. And I think that if we could just, and we can try to take a few minutes if you want in meditation, but this is what we want to do in meditation, is to give time to the soul to take over the human part and to say just for a moment, unplug the human post-its and the human identity just for a moment and listen to the voice of the soul. And once we start to hear the beauty of the soul, the silence of love, the silence of peace, this freedom of saying yes to everything, ultimate yes to life for me is freedom. That I'm not fighting with anything. It's yes, it's fine. I'm free. I'm not fighting with anyone, with anything. I've accepted everything. Even the worst, and I know in the world, journalists, I've been watching the worst things of the world. I've met beautiful, incredible people, but I've met heavy-duty criminals. I interviewed them. I asked them why they did what they did. I spoke with couldn't even talk about what they did, but some of the worst criminal with sexual deviance and things that are really horrible to think about. I met those souls. We interviewed, we did documentaries. I know life is terrible. Things are happening which are unacceptable. The human, towards human can do things that are, you don't want to even think about it. So it's not that I'm saying yes to that, but I'm saying yes to the spirit. I'm saying yes to the fact that if I, beautiful quote that we used for one of the last documentary we did in Nepal was, instead of cursing darkness, lit a candle. And that's what they say, instead of cursing darkness, lit a candle. And to me, saying yes to life means, even if it's completely dark, the best thing, the only thing I can do in front of darkness is to lit the soul and at least be the light that we can bring in the equation. It might be just a little candle, but I'm always aware that if this room was completely dark, like 100% dark, if I lit just one candle, at least I can see a little bit in the whole room, isn't it? Just one candle. And imagine if that little candle inspires another candle and another one and another one and another one. When you have 100 candles in a room, there's no more darkness. And I really believe that what is missing in the world today is not peace signed by people or negotiated with money. But what really is missing is an awareness of values, a reignitement of love and brotherhood and caring for one another, and losing those identities that are dividing us to create the identities that are uniting us. It's okay to be different as a human, but two humans will not necessarily be able to accept each other. But two beings will easily accept each other. And then they will say, oh, it's funny, you're different, it's okay. You're different, I'm okay. But as a being, we are really brothers and sisters. And as a being, I respect you. I may not agree with your choice and your life and your actions, but as a being, I respect you. So saying yes to life can really change a lot. And for me, it has been really my journey in Raj Yoga for the last 40 years. And I've always been amazed that whenever I meditate, and sometimes I think, how long are you going to meditate for? It's kind of boring, you just sit quietly and then there's nothing. And when people see us meditating, sometimes they say, what are you doing? I say, well, I'm just staring at the wall and doing nothing. And I say, isn't that boring? I say, no. What goes on inside, it could be boring. It's like if you sit in front of a screen and the screen is black and you stay for an hour and you say, how is it? It's very boring. You just forgot to turn on the TV so you can see a game or something. So some people meditate, but it's blank. And they say, oh, I didn't like it. Yeah, the connection didn't work. But if the connection works and you sit in meditation and you start to feel, I am a being. This is my body. This is incredible. This is the most incredible miracle of life. That I'm in this body and I make this body talk. This is if you're aware of that, we take it for granted, but when I wake up in the morning, sometimes one of the first thought I like to create is to think, I'm alive, this is wonderful. I'm on planet Earth. This is an incredible deal. If you go on holiday, you can get a package, all inclusive. You get lodging and food and entertainment. I think we all got the big lottery. And as a being, one day they says, yeah, you are elected, you'll go on Earth. It's a whole package. It's a very entertaining planet. You will go into a human body, you'll have 2 legs, funny toes, Don't worry, they're useful. Don't pay attention to your toes, they're very important. You have hands, you have hair, sometimes go away, but they're there, they get white. If you look at it as a Martian perspective, it's fantastic. We're in this body, we're alive, and this is a big drama. And one day we're going to leave. But we forget it. Just wake up in the morning, oh, I have to go to work. Oh, gosh, no more coffee. Oh, gee. Oh, we get human consciousness. So when we meditate, and I can invite you just to try for a few minutes, to just imagine now naturally, to keep your eyes open, as if don't need to go away somewhere. Just keep your eyes open. And try to imagine that right in the center of your forehead, there's a little energy there. Right? Some have a little mark here. Yeah, one soul there. So a natural little signal. I'm here. Hello, I'm here. This is the target. This is where we go. Many will put a mark in the forehead to show where we are. And imagine in the forehead that's where your thoughts are coming from. Isn't it incredible? We never question where our thoughts come from. If you were to tell yourself, my thoughts are coming from my knee, I don't think so, no? But if you say, my thoughts come from here, it's kind of normal. So I think in meditation, this is the seat of the soul. I, the soul, I'm sitting here. So I, the thinking being, I'm sitting right here in the center of the forehead. And my mind is going to become like a beautiful sanctuary. And I'm going to make my mind beautiful. Because this is my mind. No one can actually make my mind think, but I can make my mind think. So as I sit like this quietly, I just decide to think slowly. So I'm just going to slow down the speed of my thoughts. And I pay attention to think very slowly, one thought at a time. And I want to create beautiful thoughts. So let me create thoughts of peace. That deep within myself, I know there is peace. It is the peace that has been placed there. It's an eternal peace. It's the peace of the soul. It's the nature of life to be at peace. And I want peace to talk to me. I want to hear the sound of peace, the call of peace, the voice of peace. Peace can be like an ocean, very, very quiet, inviting me to come, to be in the ocean. And when I'm at peace, everything is okay. It's such a peace that I cannot have any worries, any negative thoughts. Peace heals my mind. It makes my mind free. And with a peaceful mind, I can bring peace in my words, in my actions, in my eyes. I can create peace around me. And I become aware that I, the soul, I'm a being of peace. And I want to create that identity so that no matter what happens, I become peaceful and bring peace to the world. So, trying to respect the time that was given to me, but I would have been able to continue and share with you the whole night, but I'm sure you may have other things to do. So, for me, the image that comes is I shared about the doctor who just heals. But I was feeling, being in that experience of peace, how, when there's a fire, you just want to extinguish the fire. And I really feel that for me, as more and more this identity of the yogi, this very spiritual being is growing in me, I find it such a beautiful role to play, to bring into a conversation peaceful words, peaceful energy that removes the anger, that changes the mind of people, that helps them to see a solution rather than a problem. And I think it's good. I'm inviting you to explore that, power of the being, and you'll see that it is actually quite good to say yes to life naturally. Even if your husband, wife, or child comes home one day and says, "Mom, do you know what happened? I lost the cat." And you will say, "Oh yes," instead of saying, "Oh no." Well, if he says, "I lost the car," that may be a little bit story, but it doesn't matter what the person's saying. It's good to say, "Oh yes." Just remember that. Don't say, "Oh no," but just say, "Oh yes." Interesting. So thank you for your listening and being here tonight.
Thanks to Brother Eric again.
I'm still
I
Brother
use
Eric,
this
yeah.
Brother Eric
Okay.
as a spiritual meaning, brothers. We are all souls, beings. And this awareness we got today about awareness of being, and say, brother, like life is okay, and we have to say, I am life. And then I started to seeing as I am being life, and yes to life. Let me play a role, that is I am being. Am I being? I am playing my role in this world drama. Yes? Yes. Thank you, brother, again.
Yes.